stumble in the dark. You kept pushing on, but then you went too far. When your ship has sailed and all your dreams are lost, everything is wrong, you feel like it's your fault. Just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life feels normal, just call on me. Just call on me. Just call on me. Just call on me. You're stronger now than you ever been. You gotta leave now, it's time to catch the wind. You will climb up high and look through the clouds. And when you're feeling low, I know you'll bounce back. Oh, and just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call on me. Just call on me. Just call on me. Just call on me.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
Allow extreme scoring to do the work for you.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious eSports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
From Homestead-Miami Speedway, the Ricmotech Extreme Scoring Cup Series has made it to the round of 4 in the Season 14 playoffs. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the most exciting night of the iRacing week. While the Philadelphia Phillies and Houston Astros are getting underway in the 2022 World Series, GT Hawkins, Bryce Senesac, DJ Weeks, and John Sterling are all in the heat of all-out war in the Championship 4 here and ready to shine in the Sunshine State. I'm Dave Regal alongside my good friend Tony Trapasso in the broadcast booth, and we'll be with you every step of the way, from the green flag to the checkered flag on Sim Racing Media. And Tony, we have gone through a long season of some exciting racing, a lot of clean racing, a lot of really competitive racing in these fixed setups. And it all comes down to this week and next week at Phoenix, as here in South Florida, it may be hot and steamy out on track, but it's about to get hot and sweaty on track.
It absolutely is, Dave. And, we got clarification before we went live that it's a 2-race round of 4, not just a one-and-done kind of deal.
Exactly.
So you can have a mediocre race and still have a shot at it. Especially with only 13 haulers in the infield tonight, that's big. The fact that the furthest the worst you can finish is 13th, but you're still going to have a shot at it going into Phoenix next week.
Yeah, I mean, we're going from hot to hotter as we go from South Florida out to Phoenix, and this racetrack, as we've seen so many times, as we take a look right now at Mike Rominger in the number 29 Chevrolet. I mean, here in practice, I've been watching all night long. That exit out of 4 is causing a lot of these cars to be upset later in the run. And I think it's going to make for some really interesting racing. I mean, right now, just 13 cars in the field tonight in practice. So, a lot going to be at stake here, especially for these Championship 4.
Well, the reason for that, Dave, is the sun beats on turns 3 and 4 all day. And then as the day wears on, you get the shadows from the billboards in turn 1. So it kind of cools that area down. But turn 4, there's no relief.
No, let's take a look. When you talk about the sun beating down, we're under partly cloudy skies with an ambient air temperature of 78 degrees. But that track temperature, 98. So that 98 degrees is going to feel like they're riding over top of an oil slick with as hot as this track is about to get today.
Well, when I was down there for the real race, that's what the ambient temperature was 98. So you can imagine how much fun it was for those drivers to slip and slide those cars around. I dare say that they're going to have to repaint the walls by the time we're done here tonight.
Yeah, more than likely. I mean, even as we look here on the exit of turn 4, as we get the race info out of the way here, that exit out of 4 is basically, and of course now everybody has decided that it's time to come out for qualifying, but that exit out of 4 has nothing but rubs on it because this is a high groove racetrack. Fastest way around this piece is on that upper groove. The problem is waiting for that groove to work its way in so the grip gets there.
Well, I've seen a lot of guys up there already during just the 50-minute practice session. And, anybody that can figure out how to run 2 to 3 inches off that wall, they're going to be able to carry so much more speed around this place that they're going to have the advantage.
Without a doubt. And speaking of advantages, there's a lot of drivers tonight that we're looking for with advantages, especially as we look at the Championship 4, and we'll take a look here. Unfortunately, we don't have the graphic ready to rock and roll, but we do have, of course, our point standings tonight. And GT Hawkins, Bryce Senesac, DJ Weeks, and John Sterling, your Championship 4. And right now, looks like John Sterling, the first of those Championship 4, here in the number 3 Haas. Oh, God, here we go again. The Haas Dodge SRT Ford Mustang out here in his opening lap of qualifying. Our first Championship 4 driver to be out here in qualifying. And I'll tell you what, he has been competitive all season. Of course, all season long, he's also been tormenting us with these paint schemes, Tony.
He has, and that's one of the things I do like about this league is they're not afraid to experiment with weird things. but it's not the weirdest paint scheme I've seen.
When you say experiment with weird things, are we including ourselves in the weird?
Sure, why not?
That's fair. I can go with that.
But that's not the weirdest paint scheme I've seen on a Mustang.
No, and of course, right now,
we broadcast the league on Thursdays that half the field is Volvos.
Nice. Speaking of paint schemes, we're taking a look right now at Limbrook, New York native Rich Reimuller in the number 92 Spaceballs, the race car, as this Camaro all wound up on his opening lap. He goes fifth fastest here, and just as he's hitting the backstretch, it's ready to turn ludicrous speed now as we pull up. Where did it go? The dashboard here on the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Nearly 160 miles an hour going into turn 3. He comes out of 4, getting a little loose, trying to keep the car underneath him. Crosses the start-finish line, and let's see where he times in. Same position, P5.
Negates the second lap.
Fair enough.
John Sterling taking the Dodge to the pole so far.
And Mike Rominger out here, as it looks like Senesac, Hawkins, and Weeks still have yet to go out and lay their qualifying times. Pretty interesting racetrack here in South Florida. Describe to us where this racetrack is, because, of course, when all of us are thinking South Florida, we're thinking Miami, beaches, South Beach, bikinis, and, you know, by the looks of things, from our blimp cam, Homestead-Miami, not exactly in downtown Miami Beach.
No, it's a little bit north and a little bit east of Miami downtown. It's closer to the Homestead side of things. And Homestead it's really just, a nice quiet area. It's, except for the palm trees, you would swear it was any town USA. It doesn't have the bright lights of South Beach. It doesn't have all the major city issues that happen, on the other side of the track. But I mean, it's a gorgeous area. 10 out of 10 would recommend doing it again.
Yeah, I mean, you guys look to have had an amazing time down there. And I mean, listen, I don't blame you. It looked like you had an awesome time.
It would have been better if you had been able to go with us.
Well, sometimes the real world gets in the way of the things that we really want to do. But
yeah.
That one hurt my heart not to be with you guys. But,
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, look, I'm a Philadelphia sports fan. A lot of times we have a saying here in Philadelphia, there's always next year.
You guys use that phrase way too often.
Well, I mean, look, when you've got oddly enough, when you have a sports franchise that reaches 10,000 losses in the same year that it wins the World Series, that, of course, the Philadelphia Phillies in 2008, and then you've got a team that has gone Super Bowl winless with the exception of one back in 2017, the Eagles. There's a lot of time in history to just say, yep, next year. The Flyers haven't brought home Lord Stanley's Cup since the 70s.
Hey, at least you got a sniff at it.
No, I mean, they brought it in, and, we could see it. Just, it was in the case. Of course, speaking of championships, the winningest team, or the winningest franchise in Philadelphia is actually one that most people don't pay attention to. That, of course, being the Philadelphia Wings of the National Lacrosse League. And have you been following this professional box lacrosse association that's coming?
They just had their combine.
They did. Did you see the announcement of the location of some of the teams?
Yes.
Did you see the newest one, Tony?
No.
Jim
They
Thorpe.
added one?
They added one.
Really?
The 9th team is Jim Thorpe.
All right, then.
I'm confused. For those of you that aren't familiar, Jim Thorpe was labeled once upon a time by Sports Illustrated as the greatest athlete of the first half of the 20th century. He's buried in a town just outside of, just north of Allentown, Pennsylvania, in the middle of nowhere. And for some reason, they have been awarded a professional box lacrosse association team. I don't even know where they're going to play. There's no arena.
There's got to be.
There's not. There's a high school.
Okay, and does the high school have a hockey team?
No. It's the
That's
weirdest.
surprising.
I know. You would think.
Thing is, Jim used to play lacrosse too.
He did. That was before his days at the Carlisle Indian School, or as it's current. Actually, the weird thing with the Carlisle Indian School is that it's no longer that. It is the Thaddeus Stevens Trade School.
Okay, then.
Very strange. Folks, welcome in. You are watching the Ricmotech Extreme Scoring Cup Series here on Sim Racing Media. For more useless information, tune in every night on Sim Racing Media and follow Tony and myself as we can bring you pretty much the most obscure informational nuggets that you've ever thought of. Right now,
usually.
Right now, taking a look at Columbus, Ohio's very own GT Hawkins, who went 5th fastest in his opening lap. He just went purple in segment 1 of his second lap. And as he hauls it off into turn 3, he has this car handled just fair. It's almost like it's on a rail, no wiggle whatsoever coming out of 4. Just a little bit of a bump there on exit, crosses the start-finish line, and goes to the pole.
First one to go sub 33 in qualifying. His arch nemesis, DJ Weeks, out on track right now. Even though it is November, he's still rocking the breast cancer awareness car.
Well, to be fair, I mean, we should probably be aware all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right now, looking for track records here, because that sub 32, you think tonight, looking here at the Ricmotech Cup Series, that's pretty fast. Your NASCAR Cup Series record is for qualifying is 29.795, and GT Hawkins only just laid down a 32.87. We'll take a look right here at the best times on the left hand side of your screen, and that 32.87, as Tony said, the only sub 33, and John Sterling next, and that's still almost 2/10 of a second slower. Hawkins obviously has the number of this particular track.
Absolutely. As DJ Weeks jumps up to 5th quick, Bryce Sennesack currently sitting 4th. And that wiggle off of 4 could have cost Sennesack a position. It negates the lap.
Well, that's definitely not where you want to start. But, something that we've seen Bryce Sennesack, and you and I, of course, both have done other leagues where there are some drivers that are just completely dominant. And, when I see Bryce Sennesack and GT Hawkins, I think a lot about the Western States Racing League and Bentley Glazer over there. I mean, there is nobody that has run away with this league whatsoever this season. This has been a toughly and tightly contested league all season long, as we have just about 7 seconds left in qualifying, folks. Glad to have all of you with us. Tony, I'm getting more and more excited as we get closer to the green flag.
And rightfully so. You take a look at, what happened this season. Yeah, GT Hawkins had 5 wins, but Bryce Sennesack's right there with 2. Michael Thwaites had 1. Jeremy Clifton had 1. Clifton Cockrell had 1. David Elliott. Rich Reimuller, who unfortunately joined late and was not eligible for the playoffs, won 2 so far. And, that's not even the biggest breakdown. You take a look at top 5s and top 10s, and it's basically been the GT and Bryce show.
It absolutely has. And speaking of the GT and Bryce show, GT Hawkins going to be sitting on the pole for this one here. And looks like the field getting themselves all set up here. GT Hawkins going to be sitting in your pole position on the inside of row number 1 with John Sterling on the outside. Row number 2 made up of Mike Rominger and Bryce Sennesack. Row 3 on the inside, DJ Weeks and Alan Hilton in that number 8 Maestro's Chevrolet Camaro. David Clayman, son of Monica Clayman, going to be on the inside of row number 4. Of course, David Clayman, we thank you for your service as always. And Monica Clayman did get her Sim Racing Media T-shirt that we've been waiting for so long for her to get finally. So glad to have that going on there as David starts in P7 on the inside of row 4. Wes Gant in the outside of row 4 in the number 11 Chevrolet Camaro. Mark Hurricane Hanna and Alex Carr round out the top 10, Tony.
Absolutely. Is Rich Reimmuller going to roll off in 11th? He's going to be joined in row 6 with Greg Carr. Clifton Cockrell starting shotgun on the field. 13 cars scheduled to roll it here tonight for 155 laps. 5 total sets of tires to get it done with a 75% fuel fill, Dave.
Yeah, you know, we take a look here at GT Hawkins. The iRacing.com pace car lights are out, so everybody double file behind him as they come down the backstretch. John Sterling, 33 years old here on the outside. He and GT Hawkins, both playoff drivers up here atop the pile. So side by side early, as at this point they are trying to fight for their lives, getting ready to go into next week's season finale and championship weekend at Phoenix Raceway. As you mentioned earlier, the round of 4 is 2 weeks long here in the Extreme Scoring Ricmotech Cup Series. So, Tony, it looks like it's that time.
It's right, Dave. It is time. It's time to wipe the visor and adjust the 5-point harness. Grandma, grab the sunscreen because it's hot as blazes down here in South Florida. Race fans, it's showtime!
GT Hawkins wasting no time getting a jump over John Sterling here in the 3-car. Side by side goes Mike Rominger and Bryce Senesac as the entire field is basically doubled up most of the way here, as nobody able to really get single file easily going into 1 and 2. As we dive down the backstretch, everybody getting organized. But we are 3 wide with Rich Reimmuller now and Mark Hurricane Hanna. Now the 11 car of Wes Gant looking to get back in the middle here, as the 10 of Clifton Cockrell is going to take the low side. Everybody looking for a place to stay.
Wes Gant was caught on the wrong side of that 3-wide situation, bailed out of it, lost a ton of momentum as he now drops 3 spots. Your biggest mover so far is Rich Reimmuller and Clifton Cockrell, as they're both up 3 from where they started, as Reimmuller now stalking the 15 of David Clayman.
Bryce Senesac starting to make hay while the sun shines, as he's got the 09 purple through the first half of the racetrack. As they haul it out of turn 3, he is now chasing down John Sterling in the 3-car. And it looks like he's going to get quite a good run out of him, as he was now the fastest driver on that last lap at 33.1 seconds, 100th of a second behind John Sterling. So they are not wasting any time turning up the heat here in South Florida.
They aren't, and you know, the fact that these guys are getting single filed out, they're not really pushing the issue early. I'm really surprised that everybody's down on the bottom this early, though, because normally that's not what we see here at Homestead-Miami.
No, at 155 total laps, this is a long race, you know, for these drivers in the cars. Not very long when it comes to time, as long as we stay that color. We don't want to talk about that one that we don't want to see, but as long as we stay green here, this is going to be a pretty quick race at these 33-second laps, as now Senesac working the low side of John Sterling going into 3. We can see these two not even trying to give an inch so far, as coming out of 4. Looks like Sterling still has the edge, and Senesac trying to hold on, looking for any kind of push that he can get right now from the 29 of Mike Rominger.
Well, Rominger just set the fastest lap of the race so far at 33.06, as he is just sitting back there waiting for those guys, watching them run side by side and just trying to save some fuel right now to try to snooker somebody on the pre-flight pit stops.
Well, GT Hawkins has now opened up a 0.6 of a second lead over Sterling and Senesac, who are back here side by side once again, coming out of turn 4 down to the start-finish line. Senesac again not getting the run that he's trying, that he really wants out of 4, but now he gets a pretty good one on the entry to turn 1. As they roll out of 2, it looks like Senesac going to have the edge over Sterling now coming down the backstretch. He kind of has a wiggle, and that opens the door for Sterling to once again give him some trouble here, which pins Senesac down to the bottom of the racetrack and kind of holds him up.
Yeah, and that's really what you've got to do here. Whoa, Rominger just went for a ride coming off before. I think it was all sorts of sideways, as that's going to open the door for Hilton to get to his outside.
Absolutely. Senesac and Sterling basically playing musical chairs right now, and at this point, the music is not going to be stopping anytime soon for these two drivers, as they are hot and heavy on lap 7 of 155 here in the Ricmotech Extreme Scoring Cup Series, live from Homestead-Miami on Sim Racing Media. If you're just joining us on YouTube.com, make sure that you subscribe, give us a thumbs up, turn on those bell notifications so that you can be told every time that we go live here on Sim Racing Media. And as always, Tony, it seems like we have just another busy week on the SRM airwaves.
We do, and you know, it's what we've come to expect out of the crew here at Sim Racing Media. The SCL International Weekly Series, they're running right now in street stocks at Charlotte. The AARL Trucker Street America Series just kicked off with their next round from Talladega. The Monsters of Energy NASCAR Series, they're going to the round of 12 at Bristol. That'll be a 9 p.m. start. They just went live there. And then the nightcap, as we always do on Tuesdays, the Western States Racing League, round of 16 at Richmond.
Absolutely. And, of course, the Western States Racing League is near and dear to yours and my hearts, as that's, of course, where you and I first got a chance to work together. A great league over there. So once we're done here at Homestead-Miami, make sure that you hop on over there and with Count De Monet, as he is going to be calling the Western States Racing League. You can check out all of those great drivers. Wednesday nights, it's a quiet night on Sim Racing Media. And Thursdays, everything picks back up. The Svenska League comes back at 2 p.m. on Thursdays, with the Fired Up eSports League at 7:30 p.m. on Thursdays. And finally, Sim Racers Edge, the nightcap in prime time on a Thursday, right up against Thursday Night Football on Amazon at 8:30 p.m. Friday nights features, of course, the iRacing. Let's see, that's the Super Speedway Series. There we go.
iRacing E Super Speedway Series.
There we go. Sorry, I just looked away from it while I was talking. But the iRacing E Super Speedway Series at 8:30 p.m. and then the Monsters of Speed Racing League Next Gen Cup Series at 9:30. And finally, a super late model series, Tony.
Do tell.
The iRacing Super Late Model Series at 8 p.m. on a Saturday.
Really?
Not sure who's running that one, but I'm excited. Sundays, of course, used to be the ISNF Series at 5 p.m. That's going to be an alternating time coming up here, folks, at 1 p.m. and 5 p.m.
Well, no, here's the thing. It's not going to be alternating. Last I knew, we were doing their Xfinity Series at 1.
And yeah, I saw a couple of posts about 1 and then alternating between Xfinity and Cup. And then, of course, this Sunday, a big night in primetime Sunday night at 8:30 p.m. The Davis Brothers Roofing Sunday Night NASCAR Cup Series is in championship form at Phoenix Raceway. It is a long season for the Sunday Night NASCAR drivers, of which I happen to be one. And it is a full-length season. So we've been together since February, duking it out, and finally it all comes down to Sunday night.
Yeah, I dare say you were glutton for punishment, wanting to drive that race instead of being up in the booth.
I drink a lot.
There you go.
I mean,
yes, iRacing, the only place where it's safe to drink and drive.
And even then I get motion sick. I do. It's fantastic.
Just be glad you weren't in a full motion rig like I was last Friday.
Yeah, I don't envy you
two
for
Fridays
that
ago.
one.
No, it wasn't bad. I wasn't in VR.
A couple of weeks ago, we took our kids over to a local bowling alley, and they had a VR motion sim, and Rebecca and I both got motion sick.
Of course.
I thought that I could handle it, and I could not. We both got out like, you know what? I don't have to do that again.
For driving?
No, it was like a roller coaster sim. Except that we were flying through someone's kitchen. There were mice and cakes and things. Oh, Rominger getting loose, coming out of 2 now onto the backstretch. He's going to suck up right behind John Sterling so he doesn't lose too much distance here between he and Sterling. Clifton Cockrell has been down on pit road for quite a while.
Yeah, the last 2 minutes, and he's actually put it on the hauler now.
Yeah, let's see if we can find out what might have caused that one. Taking a look right now at Clifton Cockrell.
Oh,
Oh! There it is.
yeah.
He's probably very angry.
He's less than happy. I know that.
I would be.
Yeah. That right front suspension is now Bluetooth on that car.
I'll say it is. Oh, I see what you did there. GT Hawkins has himself a 1 second and more lead over Bryce Senesac here in the 09 Chevrolet. That primetime Chevrolet about 1.1 seconds over top of the next closest battle on the racetrack, and that's Mike Rominger chasing down John Sterling here. John Sterling holding him off as, Rominger facing a little bit of a loose car here coming out of 4. He rubs the wall coming down the front stretch. He is not having it. That car must be a handful right now for that number 29 Chevrolet Camaro.
It definitely looks like it's a handful. You can just see as they come down the front stretch, he's just sawing at that wheel going through the corners.
Let's hop in here to the cockpit of the number 29, if we may. Let's see here. Oh, he's having all kinds of problems.
Yeah, whenever you see the steering wheel go to the right in the middle of a left-hand corner, that's not good. Unless it's a dirt track.
That's fair. He's definitely really playing with the throttle. We can hear that coming out of turn 2 now. Wow.
That was weird.
Did you hear that?
Something's not right there.
Huh. I'm watching his RPMs. They're not dropping drastically.
I'll be right back.
All right. While Tony gets, wow. We're riding along right now with Mike Rominger, Dave Regal, and Tony Trapasso here in the broadcast booth. Rominger here in the number 29 Chevrolet Camaro. He must be having some type of a hardware issue between his pedals and the car itself. Of course, his wheel also fighting a major loose condition here at Homestead-Miami Speedway. It's been a pretty long season here in Season 14 of the Ricmotech Extreme Scoring Cup Series. And it all comes down to this week and next. This week here in the Sunshine State, of course. Next week, going to be in Phoenix for the championship. And these top 4 drivers that have been fighting it out all season, this is what they've been working for. I mean, GT Hawkins, Bryce Senesac, DJ Weeks, and John Sterling. We'll take a look right now. GT Hawkins here in the number 14 Glory Pole Company Toyota Camry. Not only is he your points leader and playoffs leader, he's also your race leader. Then right behind him in P2, Bryce Senesac, the 23-year-old out of Fort Wayne, Indiana. He is running the 0909 Primetime Chevrolet. Second in points, second in the standings. Then DJ Weeks in the standings. This is kind of interesting. He's all the way back here in 6th position out of Chesapeake, Virginia, in the number 97 Autism Speak Chevrolet Camaro. He's not exactly having a great night as he's lost a position to Rich Reimuller, who has been charging forward, your biggest mover of the night. And then 4th in standings and 4th on the racetrack is Mr. John Sterling here in the number 3 Haas Dodge SRT Ford Mustang. I almost got that one all the way out, Tony. But we've been having fits all season long trying not to stumble over our words when we talk about the 3 car here in this league. And we talk about long seasons in iRacing. Of course, I just mentioned that the Davis Brothers Roofing Sunday Night NASCAR Cup Series is a long season. But right now in South Philadelphia, just a short hop, skip, and a jump away from my front door, after 162 regular season games and all kinds of playoff games, the Philadelphia Phillies and Houston Astros are facing off right now in the World Series. Game 3 underway as the Philadelphia Phillies leading the Houston Astros 4-0 in South Philadelphia. It's the top of the 4th inning with 2 outs as Kyle Tucker is at bat. We're just going to take a quick look here at the screen. We'll go a little radio style. Ranger Suarez winds, delivers, and Tucker flies one into left center field. It is easily fielded by Brandon Marsh, and that will retire the side. So, if you have any,
Dave,
if you have any
stop.
baseball interest,
This is a race, not
I know. Well, I was looking at that while I was waiting for you. There's the vaudeville hook for you, folks. But it's a big night here in the playoffs of the Ricmotech Cup Series, and of course, a big night in baseball. So, Tony, I'm glad that you're back because the vaudeville hook was leaning up against the wall and needed some help.
Well, I had to go discuss something with the league admins because something that it didn't seem right.
Go ahead.
Something was askew.
Did we get it sorted out?
I think he just sorted it out himself after clattering the wall off a two.
Do tell.
Yeah, Rominger just banged the wall, but when we were on board with him, you could hear. Uh-oh. Well, it started with Hilton and Clayman going into each other, and they're not done yet.
This seems to be a problem.
Yeah.
We're going to the replay screen here. All kinds of mess here with the 8. Oof. That is not what you want to see here.
.25 trying to get back up to speed, loses it and spins the 8 out again. Unreal.
Oh my. Well, that'll definitely change things. Maybe not necessarily for the better here in Miami. See if we can get another look at that. It's been an interesting night so far, Tony.
That's one way to put it. But getting back to what I went to go talk to the officials about was when we were on board with Rominger, you could hear in the middle of the corner it was bap, 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 bap. It was
right.
Coming on and off that throttle very, very quickly, almost too quickly.
Yeah, it sounded like he was having a hardware issue.
Well, yes and no. That actually, on the dirt side of things, we used to run traction control in one of the cars I crewed, and that's exactly what that car would sound like in the middle of the corner as it's bouncing off of the traction control.
Oh, wow.
Not saying he is, especially with as loose as that car has been and a number of times that he's gotten that car almost swapped ends and then did finally swap ends just before the caution came out. But it just seemed odd. So.
And what is race control going to do?
They're going to keep an eye on it.
Fair enough.
Without solid proof or an admission, they can't really do much about it. And I can respect that,
Well, you don't want to jump to conclusions.
Absolutely. As pit stops now done and dusted, except for those that are still on pit road after that incident. GT Hawkins winning the battle off pit road, 4 in fuel. Bryce Senesac, Rick Reimuller, Dennis Weeks, and John Sterling rounding out your top 5.
And in those top 5, let's listen to race control. They are deciding that the 8 got loose and caused that caution. Oh, wow. So the 25 gets blamed for running into the 8 after the 8 had already come into the 15 of David Clayman. So
Right.
I'll tell you what.
So
Tony,
there were two separate incidences there.
the unsung heroes in iRacing, especially in these leagues like we get to see every week, is race control.
Absolutely.
No matter what league we're in, I mean, listen, Ed Morris Jr. and Sr. both do an amazing job in the admin tower watching these races and watching these drivers from start to finish. I mean, they just, in the time that we were able to sit here and, you vaudeville hooked me and we were able to get through this mess, they were able to determine who caused it, what the penalty was, and where to send these drivers as the iRacing.com pace car lights go out.
They do at that, and the hats off to anybody that is a league race control, because it's like trying to herd squirrels at some points. But yeah, lights are out on the official iRacing pace car. GT Hawkins gonna have the button. His Geico restart zone is in effect tonight. Bryce Senesac picking up right where he left off in second place. Now he's got a free shot at Hawkins. So as the field works its way out of turn number 4, pace car getting ready to make that hard left turn down pit road, and we are getting ready to turn them back loose with 31 in the books.
And you know what? If there's two drivers that I've always wanted to see restart side by side, it's Bryce Senesac and GT Hawkins. These drivers all year long have been going at it. GT Hawkins gets the jump over Senesac as we get ready to haul it off into turn 1. And meanwhile, Senesac left here in the dust, getting a push from Rich Reimuller just behind him in Spaceballs, the Camaro.
Reimuller looking to play spoiler here tonight, as just received word that both Alan Hilton and Mike Rominger have put him on the hauler.
That's a shame for Hilton and Rominger. Of course, Hilton all year long has been a pretty clean driver. I'm sure that he feels awful about what happened as he was coming back up through the gears, but it is what it is. Sometimes racing happens.
Yeah, and unfortunately, them's the break sometimes, as Reimuller works to the inside of Senesac down the back straightaway drag race with Senesac with a nose out front as they haul it off into turn number 3 side by side for second.
This is quite a battle as we pull up the battle box here in the lower right-hand corner. You can see GT Hawkins with about 0.8 of a second over Reimuller and Senesac. And folks, you're going to watch that number grow as we go through the next couple of laps, because while Reimuller and Senesac are duking it out here with 0.1 of a second between each of them, Hawkins is able to just hit his marks and not worry about what's going on behind him. The next driver in line is, Mark Hanna, who's down 2 laps already, so we're not even worried about him. As now you can see, just as I said, GT Hawkins now opening up nearly a 1-second lead over Reimuller and Senesac.
Well, they've got to get that sorted out quickly. I mean, I know neither one of them wants to follow the other, but all they're doing running side by side like they are hurting their own lap times and letting GT Hawkins get out to over a second to the good right now.
Yeah, he is now over 1 second. Meanwhile, Rich Reimuller still trying to get up there as John Sterling just kind of lurking back here. We've seen that all season long from Sterling. If he's not battling someone, he is lurking. And, with 35 of 155 laps in here at Homestead-Miami Speedway, he's basically poised to have a nice ride here following Senesac and Reimuller. Right now, he's got the best seat in the house for this battle. We'll take a look here from the cockpit. There we go. Of John Sterling. We get to watch this right from his cockpit and see what he sees here in the number 3 Dodge SRT Ford Mustang.
Yeah, it makes me twitch every time we have to say that.
I literally just twitched my entire face.
As long as you don't have numbness on your left side and smell burnt toast, you're okay.
No, I don't even have the toaster running.
Fair enough. But that battle for second, just still hot and heavy. They're still going after each other. Neither one wants to give an inch, but they're getting to that point in the tire run where they're going to have to get it sorted out quickly, or else GT Hawkins is going to sort it out for them.
Yeah, GT Hawkins out to nearly a 2-second lead over Reimuller and Senesac, as he is at 1.9 seconds over these two drivers. I'm impressed. I mean, maybe Senesac finally deciding that he's going to get ahead here of Reimuller. And as long as he can slide up, and he doesn't, as Reimuller had just a little bit too much of a run coming out of 2. My goodness, Tony. This is a battle.
That would have been 3 wadded race cars had he tried to do it. Now he's got the clear, as here comes Sterling to the inside of Reimuller down the front chute. Sterling looking to the inside, doesn't have the move yet, but he's letting Reimuller know he's there.
No, and Sterling still back here lurking. And as we look back further through the field, this is the closest battle on field, as Wes Gant here in the Valvoline Chevrolet chases down DJ Weeks, who's running in 5th position. Of course, one of our championship 4 drivers. Wes Gant doesn't want to wreck his night. Meanwhile, David Clayman in the 15, back running forward now in the right direction, as he is back where he had begun in 7th position. Right now, however, the biggest mover of the night, still Rich Reimuller in the number 92 Chevrolet Camaro, as he is now being challenged by John Sterling.
Sterling goes to the top shelf, going through 1 and 2 with a good head of steam. He can get the run coming down the back straightaway, as now he inches out in front as they haul it off into turn number 3, still door-to-door for 3rd.
Yeah, it's entirely possible that Reimuller cooked those tires while he was on the low side of the racetrack, battling it out with Senesac. Now Senesac able to run away a little bit by about 0.4 of a second from Reimuller and Sterling, as they are side by side, crossing the start-finish line, diving into turn 1. You know, I'm afraid Reimuller may not be able to hold off Sterling, as, you know, Sterling has been saving those tires in that mid-upper groove.
Well, you know, that's the biggest thing that you need to learn when coming here to Homestead-Miami, is that top lane about 3 to 6 inches off the wall is going to be the most advantageous. You save the most tires up there. You know, if you do clatter to the wall, you're not far from it to begin with. You know, so yeah, it'll kill a little bit of your momentum, but it won't kill your car. It's very easy in these next-gen cars to rip both right-side suspension pieces clean off the car, and the closer you run to the wall, the less likely you are to have a heavy impact with the safer barriers.
Fair point, fair point. Well, we'll see if that all pans out here, as we're going to step aside and pay some bills. We're going to go side by side, hear from our good friends, of course, here at the Sim Racing Media Merch Store and Ricmotech and Extreme Scoring.
Extreme Scoring to do the work for you.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious eSports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
What's up, guys? Roger Debo, front tire changer for the 45 Alpha Prime car. You're watching Sim Racing Media. What's up, guys? Roger Debo, front tire changer for the 45 Alpha Prime car. You're watching Sim Racing Media.
And we are back at Homestead-Miami Speedway for the first race of the round of 4 here in the Ricmotech Cup Series presented by Extreme Scoring. 50 laps down in this piece right now as GT Hawkins continues to show the way. He's 3 seconds to the good over the freight train that is 2nd through 5th right now. Bryce Senesac, Rich Reimiller, John Sterling, and DJ Weeks all right within striking distance of each other.
Yeah, you know, we've been watching John Sterling and Rich Reimiller go at it, torches and pitchforks here on lap number 51 now for about the last 10 laps, and it has been an incredible watch so far. In fact, we're probably more at like 17 or 18 laps now.
Yeah, ever since the green came back out, these guys have been just throwing haymakers at each other.
I mean, you know, Tony, especially for a driver like Rich Reimiller, I mean, he's obviously not going to be a pushover for a playoff driver like Sterling. I mean, you know, right now Sterling and Weeks, the only playoff drivers not on the podium right now. And, you know, at this point, maybe in some other leagues, Reimiller might get out of the way, but he wants to prove himself as a driver and show that he is worthy of being in the Ricmotech Extreme Scoring Cup Series.
He is, and he's definitely put everybody on notice that, you know, with the finishes that he has had, you know, before we went into the playoffs, even during the playoffs, he would have been in contention. You know, I was kind of tracking some points just on my own here, and he would be in the championship 4 right now had he been able to participate in the playoffs.
Yeah, you know, and I mean, the tough thing for him is that rules are rules, you know, and to Ed Morris's, you know, credit, he wasn't going to bend the rules because of one driver.
Right.
You know,
right.
Because if you bend them for one driver, you have to bend them for all of them.
And nobody really wants to see that, because then you get, you know, oh, they're playing favorites. No. This is the way it is. They follow the rule book to the letter, and you know, this is probably one of the most professionally run leagues that we broadcast.
Without a doubt. Speaking of rules and rules having to be written, I'm fairly certain that come next year in real life NASCAR, there's going to be something about wall riding. Maybe?
Maybe. Because I mean, most tracks we go to, it's not going to be an advantage anyways. But up here at Homestead-Miami, that's really where you're running to begin with, is, you know, 3 to 6 inches off that wall, using the aero bubble around the car to keep it off the wall. And, you know, it's not uncommon to see somebody brush the wall here at Homestead-Miami or at a place like Bristol. You know, it's not that uncommon, but, you know, at a place like Martinsville, where it gains you, at 0.2 of a second, almost a full second a lap, or whatever it was.
Yeah, I think that the amount of time that was gained that way on Sunday in Martinsville was, let's just say, egregious.
Oh, yeah. No, definitely. I mean, but NASCAR made the statement, Mike Hilton made the statement earlier today that there's nothing against it in the rules. He doubts we're going to have the same situation at Phoenix, although with the way that they've reconfigured that track a couple years ago, it very much could come into that situation.
Well, and that is probably fairly accurate overall. I mean, you know, here's the thing. I know that Darrell Waltrip has said it before in public, you know, a lot of the rules that are written because somebody made them write it. You know, somebody did something that everybody went, oh, you found a new way to skin this cat. Well, we're going to take that new way away from you because it's either not ethical or it's not sportsmanlike.
And a lot of the rules were written because of cars DW was driving at the time. I'm not going to say that they cheated, but they definitely played deeply in the gray area of the rule book.
Well, and the gray area is where you're able to win these races. I mean, you know, when DW was racing, the gray area was really broad. I mean, obviously because of some of the things that he and, you know, Junior Johnson did back in the day, and even in his days with Hendrick, you know, in the early incarnation of Hendrick. I mean, some of those NASCAR was a different world back then.
Yes,
you know, there were not so many corporate influences. I mean, you know, you hear about the lead shot in the frame rails. You hear about people just going to the local junkyard and picking up a chassis and all of a sudden slapping a race body on it. That doesn't happen anymore because of people like that.
Yeah, and you know, NASCAR wants to. Let's be honest here. Is that, you know, they want to make it a spec series. Call it like you see it. They want to make it a spec series, and they're giving them the leeway between the manufacturers that they are, only to keep the manufacturers involved. And other than that, they would love every car to be identical.
You know,
you've also got your shock and spring packages.
Shock and springs can be changed and chassis can be changed, but mechanically, you know, the parts and the hardware and everything, they're identical.
Because when they went to the next gen car, they have one supplier for part X, one supplier for part Q, one supplier for part M, and that's it. You're not allowed to modify those parts either. Because that's where a couple of teams got slapped hard this past season, Stuart Haas being one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, that puts a lot more onus on the drivers themselves. You know, here in the Ricmotech Cup Series, we're in a fixed setup league where the only thing that these drivers can really change is their steering offset, their brake bias, and their steering ratio.
The steering gearbox ratio, yeah.
Right. You know, so basically, these drivers are all driving the exact same chassis, the exact same adjustments, so on and so forth. In real life, when you take away so much of the customization and the ability to, you know, maybe go to, let's just say, I don't know, Len Wood, way back in the day when they were figuring out how to make more horsepower. Oh, the 11 gets loose coming out of turn 2, or coming into turn 2 from 1. You know, you can't go to Leonard Wood anymore and say, hey, can you maybe tell me how to get another 5 to 10 horsepower into this car? You know, those days are gone.
Well, yeah, that's because all the engine builders now are keeping their cards close to their vest because, yes, there's one supplier for connecting rods and crankshafts and cams and heads, but there's still a small envelope of you can play with this part as far as engine pieces go. You know, and it's what type of tolerances are you running with your bearings? What type of, you know, what is your cam profile that you want to run? You know, how well can your engine guys tune the carburetor? Well, now it's fuel injection, so it doesn't really matter, but how well can they tune that fuel injection to get the most out of that engine all race long and through as much of the rev range as they can get?
Absolutely. And, you know, it keeps the competition that much more exciting to watch. I mean, and when we talk about exciting racing, I mean, right now I'm looking right here at Rich Reimuller working the high side of John Sterling. I mean, you know, again, you have to remember, folks, these drivers are driving cars that are basically exactly the same. You know, it's a lot like the iRock series where everything was manufactured and made the exact same and the chassis had to be set up the same. These drivers in that same situation are now muscling each other out of the way. And believe me, having the same setup as another driver makes passing that much more difficult, Tony.
It does, and you can see it right there with Sterling and Romuler going door to door. They've been that way ever since DJ Weeks got by Romuler. Sterling has been giving him fits, and they're not touching each other, but they're definitely leaning on each other in the corners.
No, and as far as sportsmanship goes, I'm sure that these two drivers are thinking to themselves right now, this is just exciting. I mean, it's better than just being out here where GT Hawkins is. Speaking of which, let's just hop on up here. GT Hawkins with a 1.77 second lead over Bryce Senesac. Senesac has a 7.3 second lead over DJ Weeks. Meanwhile, in the back of the school bus, Reimuller and Sterling are just going at it. So, I mean, right now,
Gant's
this
letting
is...
them.
Well, yeah, Gant is doing that same thing where he's just back here lurking, waiting for somebody to make a mistake.
And he's given himself enough room to get an out. If something were to pop off, he's got enough time to make a reaction. But that's really where it comes down to how well can you save the tires early on. Is we're currently 40 laps into this current tire run. And we're waiting to see who's gonna flinch first to bring it down pit road to get the next set of tires.
Yeah, and that's kind of the window that we're in now as we're getting ready to cross the start finish. Whoa! Sterling gets loose coming out of 4. That's going to be our new trouble spot, Tony.
It absolutely is, especially this time of day. You can see the sun starting to set. You can see the shadow starting to creep in through 1 and 2, and as the day wears on, the shadows are going to get longer and longer, and turns 3 and 4 still have the heavy sunshine on.
Absolutely. Our sim time right now is 3:55 p.m. Eastern, and of course, this is slated for November 1st, but the weather right now cooperating for the time being is outdoor ambient air temperature 78 degrees with 91 being your track temperature. So not drastically different in either respect, but what is drastic is this battle going on between the 3 and the 92. Tony, I don't think I can pull my eyes away from it.
I don't think we want to, especially considering the 11 has gotten by the 92 and now set sight on the 3. As you wondered how long Gant was going to stay back there. Now he's saved as Reimuller sideways coming on the pit road. Oh, that's not good. He's going to be spending a little bit of extra time in his box. Mm-hmm. At north of 70 miles an hour.
That's incredible. That is, for that type of car coming to a complete and dead stop, that is ludicrous speed.
Well, he was trying it, but they are definitely holding him in his box right now. So he was one of the first ones of the top runners to bring it pit side. You got to wonder how much longer are they going to stay out, because right now we're already at 2.25 seconds worth of fall off for everybody.
Well, and that's now with, as we go back to the live feed here, that's now with nearly 50 laps on these tires. We're just about 45 laps, and even your race leader GT Hawkins starting to fight a loose race car. We'll take a look here in the cockpit for GT Hawkins. And where's that beautiful beam footage? There it is. Look at him fighting this wheel coming out of 4, Tony.
Yeah, that's definitely not a situation that you want. But he still got the lead, although Senesac has closed the gap. It's now just 7 tenths of a second.
Well, something that we learned from Senesac earlier on in the season is that he is, I wouldn't say a master tire saver, but he's definitely one of the best tire savers in this league, as he has now closed that gap right here to 0.57 seconds. So he's definitely running quicker laps than GT Hawkins, as it took him forever to get out of traffic.
And once he did get into some semi-clean air, he was able to really make the best of it, as the gap to Hawkins is closing and the gap to Weeks is extending.
Yeah, taking a look at DJ Weeks. What?
Hawkins was just 8 different kinds of sideways coming off the 2 that time.
Gonna take a look back and check it out. Taking a look at GT Hawkins getting ready to haul it off into turn 1 here on our replay. And looking to see where he broke loose, if it's where everybody else was or if he tried to run his own line.
He was on the transition, coming off the bank and coming off it too. As Senesac car and car are all on pit road right now.
And we see them coming down pit road here. Bryce Senesac getting ready to come down for pit service here.
Hawkins
and now rolls off on lap 76. Now Hawkins in.
Gant and Sterling also bringing him down pit side. That's going to leave DJ Weeks out in front. He's going to get credited with leading a lap.
The all-important playoff point.
It absolutely is at this point. I mean, at least claw 1 point back off of Hawkins, as he's already led the most laps here tonight. And now Weeks bringing it pit side. Clayman's going to stay out. Clayman was last down on lap 65, so that moves him up into second. 3.5 seconds to the good over Bryce Senesac. And Senesac got the undercut.
Well, we've now gone past the halfway point here on lap number 78. Dave Regal and Tony Trapasso here in the Sim Racing Media broadcast booth. Tony, what do you say we step aside and pay some bills?
Sounds like a grand idea.
Allow extreme scoring to do the work for you.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious eSports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name-brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com. Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious eSports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com. Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
Allow extreme scoring to do the work for you.
What's up, guys? Roger Debo, front tire changer for the 45 Alpha Prime car. You're watching Sim Racing Media.
Welcome back to Homestead-Miami Speedway. Lap 85, now 86 of 155 here in the Ricmotech Extreme Scoring Cup Series. As Bryce Senesac and GT Hawkins have decided to get the torches and pitchforks out now as they nearly make contact here coming out of turn 2 onto the backstretch. Tony Trapasso, Dave Regal here with you in the Sim Racing Media broadcast booth. Tony, this battle has gotten cranked all the way up.
It absolutely has. This is the closest those two have been since the restart back on lap 48. And the fact that now Clayman has been passed up, that is your battle for the lead, as Senesac stalking Hawkins right now. And, we know Senesac knows how to save tires. Hawkins that's been the MO to all of his wins this season, is saving tires and still having speed.
Yeah, without a doubt. And, right now we see here in this battle box on the lower right-hand corner of your screen, this is your battle for the lead. As side by side go Hawkins and Senesac. Tony, they're not even thinking about giving up.
Far from it. And the other thing to consider too, Dave, is we're not at the money stop yet. We saw roughly 40 laps on the last tank of Go Fast, so we're still at least one more stop away from figuring out who's going to win this piece here tonight at Homestead.
Yeah, when we talk about, the money stop, we're just over halfway now at lap number 89. And a lot of times we do try to go back through the field to find the closer battles, but tonight, this is the battle to behold as GT Hawkins and Bryce Senesac now, going at it. But up here in this top three, right up until the last pit stop, the last pit cycle, top three has been feisty.
They have, but they've raced hard, but they've raced clean, and that's the one thing that's refreshing to see in this league, is the fact that so much respect is shown from the top of the field to the bottom of the field. These guys aren't looking to, make enemies out here. They're just looking to race with their buddies on a Tuesday night.
It's the perfect way to put it. When it comes to clean racing, I would say I would pit Ricmotech and Western States against anybody in the iRacing servers. We've had more races than not this year go green to green, or go to green from green to checker with nothing in between. In fact, we even had 94 green flag laps at Talladega, Tony.
Yeah, that was impressive. There's And I think you hit the nail on the head. There's three leagues that come to mind when I think of low cautions, good racing. Ricmotech Cup Series presented by Extreme Scoring, Western States Racing League, and CleanRacing.net. Those are the three leagues that come to mind when I think, well, this is going to be a good, solid run, and there's not going to be too many shenanigans being pulled.
Well, and the other thing that's kind of refreshing, and I know that you experienced it Sunday in ISNF, and unfortunately I was on daddy duty Sunday night, so I could not race at Martinsville in the Davis Brothers Roofing Sunday Night NASCAR Cup Series. But, coming back to the mile and a half instead of being on the short track at Martinsville, this is refreshing.
Oh, yeah. If it hadn't been for the race that CleanRacing.net put on last night, I was going to take tonight off because I don't think my nerves could have taken another 3-hour race at Martinsville. But, coming into tonight, I knew I had you in the booth, and, it's the first round of first race of the round of 4. I kind of had to be here tonight, and I'm so glad I showed up.
Yeah, absolutely. I know when I look on my weekly schedule, when I know that it's you and I here on a Tuesday night, this is, to be honest with you, buddy, this is my favorite night of the week, to be hanging out with you. I mean, sometimes real life sucks, so it's nice to just hang out with my boy and watch a race. And, we get to do this every week. And, folks, Sim Racing Media, we do a lot, here in the play-by-play realm, watching these broadcasts week after week. But, there's real people. Tony was able to get down to Miami with the rest of everybody from, I shouldn't say everybody, but with a big group from Sim Racing Media. And, Tony, I know that you had an amazing time down there.
I absolutely did. And, we were lucky that Mike the Money, who's doing the just getting ready to kick off the Western States broadcast on the sister stream, he was able to wrangle VIP passes for us for the truck race on Saturday. So we got to watch the race from on top of the pit box, sitting right behind the crew chief.
Unless you work in motorsports, that's probably a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Mm-hmm.
I've always wanted to know exactly what they're talking about, and are they watching the race the same way that we do, or is it more surgical?
Part from column A, part from column B. It depends on what your job is on the team. The tire guy, the fuel strategist, and the crew chief all look at it from, a straight-on math problem, whereas the guys that change the tires, jack the car, and refuel it look at it from more of an athletic standpoint. And it's fun to see those two worlds come together.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've talked about it before, and we touched on it earlier, but this is not the NASCAR of the 70s and the 60s and even the 80s. I mean, where they were basically going into a diner and saying, hey, do you know how to change a tire? These drivers are athletes. I mean, gentlemen like Roger DeBold that, of course, we all just saw before we came back from our commercial break. I mean, these drivers or these tire changers and fuel guys and tire carriers are athletes. I mean, I follow JGR on TikTok, and I watch their practices. They're incredible.
Well, the other thing, too, is take a look at the guys that go over the wall, guys and gals that go over the wall. They all have an athletic background. A lot of guys played football and didn't go pro, but they played football in college. A lot of people, soccer, rugby, a lot of those sports that need a lot of, change of direction quickly. Basketball players are even doing it now, too. But, you need that athletic background to be able to do a 13-second pit stop.
Oh, yeah. And, I mean, earlier today I wound up changing a tire for one of my residents here where I work. And, of course, it took me a lot longer it took me more than 13 seconds to use the little screw jack that she had in the trunk, to get the car up, much less get stuck lug nuts off of a Ford Fusion. I mean, with what came in the car. these guys are doing full service in 13.1 seconds a lot of times.
Yeah, that's 4 tires and 2 cans of fuel.
I can't even
fill the tank completely in less than 13 seconds.
Yeah, I can't even get my PIN number put in and wait for the transaction to begin in 13 seconds.
You're not wrong. You're definitely not wrong. But, that was one of the things that it kind of freaked my mom out the first time that she asked me to help her change a tire, is I brought my rig over to her where, I have a Thunder gun. The same guns that those guys use on pit road, I have one of those. And I found the right size socket, put it on, went, zing, zing, zing. My mom's going, "What are you doing?"
I'm not breaking it, Mom. I can tell you that.
Then I went to go put the lugs back on, and, I hand-threaded them and then ran them in, gave them 2 Ugga-Duggas and called it good.
That's about right. And, folks, keep in mind that Ugga-Dugga is that's an official measurement term.
It absolutely is, and you talk to any mechanic at any garage anywhere in the United States, and they'll tell you, you put wheel studs on with 2 to 3 Ugga-Duggas, unless it's a big truck like a 3/4 ton or 1 ton, full size pickup. In that case, you're going to want 4 to 5 Ugga-Duggas.
No, that's absolutely legit. But speaking of tightening, what's really not tightening tonight, David Clayman has now slid back into 6th position. He was battling his way up through the field, and out of nowhere has started going the opposite direction as David Gant just worked his way past him in the Valvoline Chevrolet. John Sterling up in 4th. Our biggest mover of the night used to be a lot further up here in the field, but now Greg Carr, your biggest mover, up 4 positions on the evening, running in 8th place right now. And Rich Reimuller, of course, was our other big mover, and it has just not gone his way since pit stops.
No, especially when you get pop for an unsafe pit entry. They held him 59 seconds in the box.
Gosh, that's an eternity.
Yes, it is. When you compare that to everybody else, it was 14.5 in the box for just about everybody else. So, I mean, you have things go south just that quickly here in a race. As we're working lap 104 of 155 here tonight for Homestead-Miami. Dave Regal, Tony Trapasso up in the booth with you for this one. Thank you so much for making us part of your Tuesday evening. If you haven't done so already, give this video a thumbs up. Let us know you enjoy the action that you're seeing out on track. And if you haven't done so already, and we've checked the algorithms, that most of you watching aren't subscribed. So hit that subscribe button and don't miss out on any single race that we show here on Sim Racing Media. We're ramping. Even at the end of the season, we're ramping back up to 7 nights a week.
No, and that's something that I found very, very interesting. We went for a weird, I don't want to say a hiatus, so to speak, but we kind of took a step back where at one point we were busy 6 and 7 nights a week, and now things have cooled off substantially as some leagues, have gone into their off season. Of course, a lot of leagues wrapping up in the next 2 weeks, including here in the Ricmotech Extreme Scoring Cup Series. The Sunday Night NASCAR Davis Brothers Roofing Cup Series on Sunday night will be going to Championship Weekend in Phoenix. I mean, a lot of these tracks we're starting to see Phoenix, all over our screens. So championships are all around us.
Yeah, that's one of the things I like about this league too, is the fact that their championship round of 4, it's not one race. They split the playoffs into a 6-race platform. First round, second round, third round. We're in the 3rd round right now, and there's 4 guys still contending for that championship. And, you got G.T. Hawkins, Bryce Senesack, DJ Weeks, and John Sterling. And wouldn't you know who won the pony? Take a look at your top 4.
Yeah, and they're all running just so.
Yeah, exactly. G.T. Hawkins leading the race, leading the points. Bryce Senesack coming in tonight, 2nd in points, 2nd in the race. DJ Weeks 3rd and 3rd. John Sterling 4th and 4th, which, that's got to stick in his craw just a little bit, considering he's driving the number 3 car, but he's sitting 4th in points.
Oh, absolutely. But I mean, these drivers have battled each other all season long. And I mean, to see these four up here doing what they're doing, I mean, and again, as clean as they're doing it, we haven't seen, except, what?
3 wide as Mike Reimuller just blew by Alex Carr and David Clayman.
Well, I guess Reimuller trying to get the lap back the old-fashioned way, even though he's 2 down right now. Greg Carr and David Clayman running in 7th and 8th position right now. We're running through the field. The Fort Bliss, Texas native. I'm going to highlight David as it seems like we always do. Number one, he is like an onion. We keep peeling back layers and getting to know him better and better every week. And, his mother, Monica, always...
Diehard fan since day one.
Yeah, she has been with us every week of the season so far, Tony.
And it's been a pleasure to, to have... is David sideways coming off a 2 there. But, to have the fan base that we've been able to meet, at least in the sim world, it's amazing. And, one of the highlights of the trip that I made to Homestead-Miami was Jason Papp, who is the league owner of the iRacing Super Speedway series. His mom was actually at the Homestead race, and Greg McConey and myself had a chance to actually meet her in person and put a face with the name. And it was just an honor to be able to do that with our fans.
Absolutely. I mean, we're dealing with so many people across the country and around the world in many cases, as, we have the Svenska League, so on and so forth. Oh, David Clayman coming down pit road, smokes the tires as he gets ready to enter pit road. I hope he doesn't get popped for speeding.
He was at 49 when he hit the cone. So well within. He got it slowed down just in time. It's a 50 mile an hour pit road speed limit, and he nailed that thing perfect.
When you talk about being able to meet your fans and being able to meet the people that you interact with online, for the first time after so long, it's kind of like this. And Scott Fransky and Larry Anderson on the Philadelphia Phillies radio network brought it up a few years ago, and it stuck with me because I can't get it out of my head. If you think about when you and I were doing 2 and 3 races a week together, or at least 2 races a week together, we were spending 4 and 5 hours together here on the air. Yeah. Think about the amount of time that you spend with your family on one day for Thanksgiving. The answer is an average of 6 hours.
I need a nap after 4 hours.
Right.
With the family.
Right. You're spending 4 to 6 average hours with your family for that one day a year, and some of those people you won't see the rest of the season. Yet you and I, complete physical strangers, although, personally we're sitting here together every week, and you're my brother from another mother. But,
Same.
we spend more time together in a single work week than we do with our families for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that sounds about right. But the other thing too is there's I got to remember how it was said to me. You just because you aren't blood related doesn't mean you're not family. And I like to look at the entire broadcast crew here at Sim Racing Media. Everybody, we're family here. We've got the Emily Urias, who's our little sister. She's been in the booth with both of us. John and James, who are kind of, as much as
they're the mother hens.
Say this, yeah, they're like the mother hens. And then you got me, who's the old fart.
Well, stinky like a fart. It's fine. And then, of course, there's the ever-loving professional, Father Frank.
Ah, yes. Father Frank, Francis Marchese.
Wonder what he's doing tonight since his day job has cooled off a little bit.
He is doing, or was doing, the SCL International Weekly Street Stock Series.
Ah, that's right. I did see that. Not that I want to rub it in or anything, but thanks to my Phillies, his work year got a little bit shorter.
Well, not really, because he still does other things behind the scenes. Yeah, his baseball schedule is
season.
now freed up,
His
but
baseball
they're still airing national broadcasts of games.
Yeah, absolutely. But
So
for me, it's all about.
Yeah, your hometown radio station.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Oh God. I mean, I'm watching this, and I mean, I'm riveted by the race. At this point, if I had a heart attack and stroked out right now, I'd be okay. You know, the Phillies are up 7-0. I'm hanging out with you, and we're watching the second to last race of the season here on iRacing.com. And I mean, this is what the entire season has been culminating toward.
Yeah, it is, and it's kind of refreshing to. Yeah, we've got a little bit shorter of a car count than I would like to have seen here at Homestead-Miami, but the racing action that we've seen a lot of close action as DJ Weeks and Greg Carr both bring them pit side for what should be their money stops.
Absolutely. When DJ Weeks rolls out, he will have about 35 laps to go, so he should be well within the fuel range to make that checkered flag. And being the first driver in, this sets him up pretty well for this end segment.
It worked great for David Clayman last time he did it. But Weeks already down and away, only one lap down. Actually, a lap and a half is all he's got down. But GT Hawkins, Bryce Senesac, John Sterling, Wes Gant, and Alex Carr still have to bring theirs down for service. As Weeks and Clayman and Greg Carr, the only three that were near the lead lap that have already done their service, got that done and dusted. And Weeks was able to beat Clayman off track. Or off pit road, I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. And now it looks like Weeks on those fresh tires is going to be able to get around John Sterling here, as he is still a lap car. I don't think he's going to get this lap back the old-fashioned way, as Senesac and Hawkins have to be thinking about coming down, as they haven't been down pit road since laps 75 and 76 to Senesac and Hawkins. So definitely getting to that crunch time now. I don't hear anybody on race radio talking yet, and I'm pretty sure that they're all going to be playing this one pretty close to the chest.
Unless you're in heavy traffic, yeah, you want to just sneak one in there. It's David Clayman, a little bit loose coming off before, but able to get the pass made on DJ Weeks. Weeks still trying to get those tires up to temperature as he's running that second lane, Clayman right down on the bottom lane. And this is one of those tracks, Dave, that's progressive banking. We haven't talked too much about it last night or tonight. But the higher you go on the track, the steeper the banking gets, and the more you can really push the car through the corner. Whereas right down where Clayman's running, you're on the flattest part of the banking.
Yeah, I got to be honest. As I'm looking at Clayman, that is a handful to bring out of the bottom of a turn up to the top of a turn. You know, because you're not tightening, you're actually loosening, which is what's causing a lot of the bobbles coming out of turn 4 onto the front stretch. And as you get loose up there, I mean, sure, you're getting a heck of a head of steam, but
Hawkins
wow, speaking of a head of steam, DJ Weeks just took off in front here. GT Hawkins now down pit road for his money stop, along with Bryce Senesac, who is now out of pit road. That leaves just John Sterling and Wes Gant here yet to come in, as GT Hawkins going to cede the lead over what should be Dennis Weeks. Once we're done cycling.
No, Bryce Senesac got out in front of Weeks.
He got him.
So Sterling takes the lead. He's got to stay out to get credited with the lap led. Hawkins is down and away as Senesac reeling him in hand over fist right now. And this is going to be the best shot Senesac's going to have at him all night, as now Sterling brings it pit side after getting that lap led. But Hawkins trying to hustle that car to get it up to speed, and he's already started to mitigate the advantage that Senesac had.
Yeah, Senesac and DJ Weeks both had one heck of an advantage coming in as early as they did. And, you know, obviously GT Hawkins has that pit crew trained to be just right. And he still gets out and manages to get the tires pretty well back up to temperature. And we'll pull up right now everybody's pit strategy. And you can see the only real bobble here in the pit strategy is down with David Clayman, who ran a 28, a 37, and a 45-lap stint before coming down on 117.
And these guys are getting it figured out pretty quick here, as we've got 124 of 155 in the books. GT Hawkins has led the most laps here, set quick time in qualifying, and has led all but 5 laps tonight.
And you can see, GT Hawkins and his timing column here on the lower right-hand corner of your screen. If you look at the last few laps, before coming in down pit road, about 119 and 120, he was basically just barely slower than what 124 is. So he is hitting his marks so consistently. And if you look right now, his last 3 laps all but identical.
Yeah, and that's impressive, and Hawkins, he didn't have the best opening segment of the season, but in the closing portion, he has been the dominant car here, winning 3 of the past 4 races in the playoffs.
Yeah, we've gotten to talk to him, the last few weeks after the race, of course, as he's finished on the podium. And I mean, number one, for as young as he is, I mean, I say young, he seems like a younger fellow. He holds himself to such a high standard here on the racetrack, as all of these drivers do. They represent their sponsors, they represent the league very well, and to be honest, they tip their cap and represent us well as also.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's refreshing to see, the fact that these guys, they don't watch the broadcast live, but they'll go back and watch the broadcast. And it's not uncommon for the drivers to direct message either Dave or myself at some time during the week after the race and say, hey, you guys forgot to refresh trading paints, or my sponsor coming up to this next week is so-and-so, or can you give a special shout out to my mom whose birthday's coming up, or anything like that. And that interaction with the drivers, again, it makes it feel like family. It's not just us showing up, doing a job, and going home. They make us feel like we're a part of the league, and that's the one thing I love about the leagues that we get to broadcast, Dave, is the fact that the leagues, for the most part, embrace us with open arms, and let us feel like we're a part of the action.
Oh, yeah. You and I have had a special relationship with a lot of the fans of these different leagues and a lot of the drivers. And, I think one of the most special connections that we've had so far this year together was our relationship with Outdoor Cast Iron Cooking over on the Western States Racing League.
Yes,
folks,
absolutely.
Tony and I, part of our job is to talk about sponsors and to talk about, the people who make these races possible to be online and visible to you at home. And, so we're always plugging somebody else. And for the first time that either of us can think of, we got a plug from Outdoor Cast Iron Cooking. Dean the Fog Crawler and Joni the Teardrop Nanny out there. We were hounding them like 2 fat kids starving to death over a Beltrami salami pizza, which we can get into that at another time. Right. When they finally came up with a recipe for this special pizza made in a cast iron pan, they shouted us out directly because they were just as engaged with our racing as we are with what they do over on YouTube.
Absolutely. And speaking of sponsors, I got to give a big shout out to the entire crew at Ricmotech. The Friday that we got to Miami, we went to their showroom, and they made us feel right at home. As a matter of fact, they fired up, I think it was 3 or 4 simulators for us, and let us play on the full motion rigs. And I'll tell you right now, if I ever win the lottery, I'm not going to tell anyone, but you'll know.
Yeah.
I need to get me one of those.
Oh, God, yeah. I've looked at some of the equipment that Ricmotech has for sim racing, and I mean, Tony, let's be honest. There's a reason that I have more fun sitting in the broadcast booth with you than I do on a Sunday night in the Sunday Night NASCAR Cup Series. It's because I'm a fair to Midland racer. But if I ever really wanted to throw my heart and soul back onto the track, I would go with Ricmotech for everything.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And they've got a partnership with Thrustmaster, and SimCube is one of their big wheel distributor, the gearbox for the wheel distributors, the direct drive wheels and whatnot. And I had a chance to, like I said, I had a chance to get into one of their full motion rigs, and it's the first time I had been behind the wheel in iRacing since February of 2019 for the Rolex 24 at Daytona. And I'll tell you right now, it just on that level of equipment, it's night and day. And I thought I had a good wheel and pedal package, but holy cow, it's nothing compared to what they sell at Ricmotech. And you can find them at ricmotech.com. And just because I want to say something, I want to say I got something from Ricmotech. I was talking about the holidays with my mom, and she goes, "So what do you want for Christmas?" I said, "Well, what I could really use is a new headset." And they've got a Ferrari headset, and I almost didn't believe it when they told me how much it was. It's the headset similar to what the teams wear in the real world,
Right.
with the boom mic and the weird looking headset and push to talk button on the top of the left earpiece.
Yep.
And it plugs into your computer, and it's got Ferrari branding on it.
As you do.
$119. You
That's
can't
it?
steal one for a better price at that.
No. Logitech is almost more expensive.
These are, top of the line broadcast quality headphones that, it's very similar to what the real world race teams use, and it's only $119, and that's all I want. And
the 15 and the 11 just got together. I hate to cut you off, but the 15 and the 11 just made contact here on the backstretch, running the replay back right now as David Clayman and Wes Gant rolling out of turn 2. Tony, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I saw that as well. I was about to say it, but it looked like Clayman caught the apron.
No, well, see, so Clayman catches the apron. I'm going to run this right back here, folks. Clayman catches the apron, but he manages to recover. He maintains speed. Then Wes Gant just gets a run on him and brushes him out of the way.
That can't be put on Gant, because Clayman was already sideways and Gant was trying to pick the throttle up, and you don't have time to come back off the throttle pedal with the lap times that these guys are turning.
No, absolutely not. And I'm trying to run this back to see if I can get a better view of it.
TV2 had a good shot.
Yeah, I'm looking for... Here they are. They're going to be rolling out of turn 2. Here it comes, right into our camera view. One more quick look here before we go back live, but we do avoid the caution here with 17 to go at Homestead-Miami. And along with Ricmotech and the way that they treated you guys down in Miami, also the extreme scoring.info software, incredible, Tony. I've kind of dabbled around with it, and I've poked at it. I know that a lot of people here on the iRacing.com servers use, let's just say, another scoring software system.
Yes.
Available online. It's very popular. A lot of our leagues use it, don't get me wrong. But the extreme scoring software is just better. That's the only way I can describe it. The user interface is easier. Some of the scoring decisions are more customizable, and you don't have to do as much copy and paste and manual work, as a lot of it is automated.
And you don't need to download Firefox just to upload the scoring like
Right.
you do with the other big name out there for timing and scoring.
I feel like every time we talk about extreme scoring and the other scoring software, that it's kind of like if a let's just say CBS has the Super Bowl that year, Fox can't say the words Super Bowl on the air. They can just call it the
we're
big
allowed
game.
to say it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but we don't have an NFL license, so we don't have to.
Okay.
The way that that's structured is that if you have the NFL, that you can only call it the big game.
Fair enough.
And if I'm wrong, that's fine. Take me to jail. It'll be okay. Roger Goodell will pay for me to get out.
I could go on a Roger Goodell rant right now, but I'm not going to.
No, don't do it.
That, we're in a fun race here. GT Hawkins is stretched out a 4-second gap over Bryce Senesac, who is 14 and a half seconds over DJ Weeks right now.
Tony.
Yeah.
Here's a would you rather.
Oh boy.
Would you rather be called to the NASCAR hauler to have a chat with Mike Helton, or would you rather be called to Fifth Avenue to be talked to by Roger Goodell?
Roger Goodell, only because I think I could take him in a fight. Mike Hilton is a big man, and he's one of the last people on the planet I would want angry with me.
He looks like a guy who likes pie. He looks like a blueberry pie guy.
No, he likes barbecue, though. Like, if you ever want to get on Mike Hilton's good side, just bring in fresh barbecue.
Dry rub? Like Kansas City style?
I don't think it matters.
Fair enough. Well,
he's a North Carolina boy, so he likes that vinegar-based sauce.
Ugh.
Yeah, I'm kind of more along the lines of the Kansas City-based sausage, where it's molasses-based.
I mean, look, I'm from Pennsylvania, Dutch country. Molasses runs in my veins. See shoe fly.
Oh, there you go.
Take a look right now at your race leader, GT Hawkins, with 11 laps to go. Now 10 as he crosses the line with a 5-second lead over Bryce Senesac. Senesac has now 14.9 seconds between himself and DJ Weeks. Then John Sterling, the next driver in line, not only on track but also in your point standings, as they are running identical here on track to the point standings. Hawkins, Senesac, Weeks, and Sterling in your championship 4. As we have this week and next left in the 2022 Season 14 playoffs. David Clayman just ran the fastest lap at 33.01, blowing GT Hawkins' fast lap out of the way by a half second.
That's impressive. And that, as a matter of fact, it wasn't just an 01, it was a 33.005.
Mine rounded up.
Yeah, that's what mine did too, but I went and looked. That's an 005 lap. As a matter of fact, you can, if you go to the ticker, you can click on best time and see what everybody's best time was.
There we have it. Well, you have my attention, Mr. Clayman. That's for darn sure, as it seems like he is now a man on a mission.
He absolutely is, as he's working around the 26 of Alex Carr. Carr, though, 1 lap ahead of Clayman.
Just blew the doors off of the 25, and I'll tell you what, now he's trying to get around Bryce Senesac. Basically, it looks like Clayman trying to get his lap back the old-fashioned way.
As you do here at Homestead-Miami, but Greg and Alex Carr, I believe brothers, doing a strong battle here, as Greg leading Alex here in the closing lap, 7 to go, as they're both right behind second place on track. That's Bryce Senesac in front of them. And you got to wonder, does Alex have anything for Greg? There's the answer we weren't looking for. Now it's even closer.
I'll say it is. My goodness.
Greg just went
Yet again.
skating down the track sideways off
there he
of
goes.
4 again. Oh, man.
We're going to ride along with Greg for a second here in the cockpit, because something does not sound like he's having a good day here. I'm not sure if it's him or if it's the 26 of Alex Carr, but something's chattering here.
Something's chattering?
Nope, never mind. That was I'm listening to the RPMs now, and perhaps it was more than likely just him shifting down to fourth gear.
Yeah, that could be.
Hey, here's a country music reference you probably weren't thinking about. Right now, in attendance at Citizens Bank Park, alongside of his wonderful wife. Oh, this is interesting, too. The Hey, Look Who's in the Stands cam is out here. Tim McGraw and Faith Hill in South Philadelphia tonight.
Well, it makes sense considering who Tim's dad was.
You know, there's an interesting story that's told in ESPN, the book, about the discovery of Tim McGraw. A reporter for ESPN. No, I'm talking about Tim. So,
The son?
yes.
Okay.
So, obviously, about 30 years ago, when Tug McGraw was still alive, and well, almost 40 years ago now, when Tug McGraw was still playing, he was about to give an interview to a reporter who was aspiring at ESPN. And they're in a parking lot of some bar in Tennessee where Tug McGraw happened to be, and he was trying to talk this reporter into going into the bar to see, this guy. He goes, "Here, take this tape. Listen to this tape. This is my son. I just discovered that I had this son," so on and so forth. He gives the reporter a tape, and of course it happens to be a tape of Tim. And, the rest is obviously history between the two of them. But what an interesting father-son relationship.
Yeah, but, that's the way things were back in those days of playing professional sports.
Yeah, professional sports was a lot like working the less than savory places in the world. But right now, popsicle sticks in the air with 2 to go now. GT Hawkins hauling it down the backstretch. Second to last time with Bryce Senesac, 6.4 seconds behind him. DJ Weeks running in third, John Sterling in fourth, and just 5 cars on the lead lap, rounded out by Wes Gant in that Valvoline Chevrolet. As GT Hawkins rolls out of turn 4, he rubs the wall just a little bit. The white flag drops over top.
Checkers.
Take us home, Tony.
We are racing back to checkers as GT Hawkins has been the dominant car here tonight. Quick time in the hot lap session, quick time in the qualifying session. Led all but 6 laps here tonight as white flag in the air one more time around. Less than a mile remains here at Homestead-Miami for race number 1 of the round of 4 here for the Ricmotech Cup Series presented by Extreme Scoring. Out of turn number 4 for the final time. GT Hawkins brings it down under the checkered flag. Your winner, GT Hawkins. Bryce Senesac coming out of 4. He's going to cross for second as DJ Weeks just going into 3 now. It shows you what type of dominating performance Hawkins had. The fact that only 5 cars left on the lead lap is here comes Weeks to cross for third. And we've got another 4 seconds till we get to John Sterling. And Dave, I don't know if you realize this or not, but our 4 racing for the championship 4 just finished 1, 2, 3, and 4 in that order.
Yeah, quite frankly, it's definitely not going to shake up the point standings too drastically as they finished exactly how they are in the point standings. And GT Hawkins now celebrating here on the front stretch in the number 14 Glory Pole Company Toyota Camry, as he is about to melt the tires off the back of this Camry.
As you do.
GT Hawkins, Dave Regal up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Gotcha.
Well, yet again, here we are interviewing you atop the podium here in the Ricmotech Extreme Scoring Cup Series. Man, what a dominating performance tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it looked that way at the end. Just, I think I kind of figured it out there. But, Bryce, me and Bryce were even pretty much the whole race. I mean, it came down to basically one pit cycle of 10, 15 laps was probably the difference there. Honestly, I figured it out a little bit more once I got behind him for a couple laps. I was watching what he was doing. I was coming in way too shallow, and it was making it way too loose on the long run. So, yeah, I had to work really hard for that one, and I'm appreciative of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you're practicing, before the race, I mean, of course, you're using a fixed setup. And, sometimes you're kind of looking like, is this a long run setup? Is this a short run setup? And, here in the Ricmotech Cup Series, I mean, you guys almost always have long runs. I mean, as you look forward next week to Championship Week at Phoenix, what's your strategy going to be moving into that race?
We'll see what the setup gives us there, but yeah, I'd like to do the same thing and close this out. That would be really cool.
Absolutely, man. Well, listen, before we cut you loose tonight, who do you need to thank?
Yeah, I got to thank Ed and everybody at Extreme for putting this on. Ricmotech for sponsoring the series. Really appreciate them. Glory Pole Company, my teammates, GT Motorsports, and all my friends, family out there watching. Thanks.
All right, man. Congratulations. We will see you next week over at Phoenix.
See ya. Have a good night.
And Tony, I believe right now you should have Bryce Senesac, correct?
I do. Bryce Senesac, all things considered, not too shabby of a race. At any time, did you think to go to the extreme high side and let this thing eat on the top shelf?
No, it was just too slow up there. Bottom was the way to go the whole race.
Fair enough. As only one caution to speak of here tonight, and you were able to stay out of that little melee. But talk us through just how difficult it was at times. We saw you and DJ and you and John, and you guys were going after each other there for second, third, and fourth for a lot of the race.
Yeah, I was really good on the long run, and then after that first set of pit stops, it apparently didn't really matter if you were good on the long run or not, because I got ran down by GT when I came out ahead, and then he just managed to somehow run away when I felt like I was better on the long run than him. So I don't know. Yeah, second's good, but not in this round. It really seems like I need to go in and win this thing, and same with Phoenix.
Well, you're still within striking distance with a good run at Phoenix. What are your thoughts going into the D-shaped Demon to the Desert next week?
I'm pretty much going to need a miracle, because GT's been the guy to beat, it seems like, all season, and tried my best out there, and just one of those things where it doesn't seem to be enough. So we'll go out there and see what we can do, but yeah, it's gonna be tough.
Well, you've definitely put on a show this season, something to be proud of. A lot of good, consistent top 5 finishes all season long. We're going to let you go celebrate the podium with your team, but who do you need to thank before we turn you loose?
Thank everyone at Primetime, Ricmotech, and then you guys up in the booth.
Bryce Senesac, driver of the Primetime 09. Congratulations on the podium. We'll see you next week in Phoenix.
We'll see you.
And Dave, I believe that leaves us speaking to the man of the driver of the autism awareness, breast cancer awareness, domestic violence awareness, Chevy Camaro, DJ Weeks.
The pride of Chesapeake, Virginia. Do you have a copy?
What's up, guys?
Hey, man, listen, great run tonight. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4 in the standings, and 1, 2, 3, 4 here on track tonight. You finished third on the podium this evening. How was that car feeling? I mean, a lot of these drivers, everybody was turning right to go left at one point or another. How was that feeling for the number 97?
It's a lot of fun, but I'm very, very tired now.
Yeah, after 155 laps, anybody would be tired, especially at a place like Homestead, and furthermore, in a car that it looked like a handful, man. I mean, it seemed like everybody was battling loose, especially on the long run. But, for lack of a better term, that's Homestead in a nutshell.
Yeah, I have a love-hate relationship with this track, so either I finish well or I don't finish at all. So I think the pendulum was swung the right way tonight, so I'll take that. But this track's an animal. I wish we had dynamic tracks there where we could run the wall. I think that would be pretty fun. Maybe that'll come next year again.
When you say run the wall, we're not talking about what we saw in the real race on Sunday at Martinsville, correct?
Hey man, if it works, it works. It's worth a try.
Fair point. Fair point. Well, as we get ready to go to the desert next week, as we look to get ready to go to the desert next week, what's going to be your strategy going into championship week?
Honestly, I don't have short run pace at Phoenix, so hopefully green flag to flag finish and I have a chance. But GT and Bryce are just going to be so strong, like always. So I'm gonna need a miracle, maybe a speeding penalty by them or just an accident, something to happen. But it's a long shot, but I'll be there.
All right, man. Well, listen, before we cut you loose, who do you need to thank for tonight's run?
I'd like to thank Ricmotech for sponsoring the series, all the admins that make this thing go. Thanks to you guys for broadcasting it. You guys do a wonderful job. Pro Air Medical Supplies is, I think, still on the hood of this car. I don't know. It's been modified so many times with the pink, Autism Speaks. My son, he's on the side of it. He's got autism, so it's always great to run this car and run up front.
All right, man. Well, congratulations for getting on the podium yet again here, and we will see you next week in championship weekend.
Thanks, guys.
And Dave, just like that, we've got another one in the books.
We do, Tony, and week in and week out, we've said it all season long. I mean, this is some of the best racing that we see on iRacing, and they never seem to disappoint us whatsoever.
Yeah, no, this league never has disappointed at all. As week in and week out, we know we're going to see some of the best action of the week here on Sim Racing Media, here on track for the Ricmotech Cup Series. And, that's one of the reasons why Ricmotech has put their name behind this series, is the fact that, the racing is second to none here in this series.
Absolutely. I mean, the 13 drivers that took the green flag tonight, they are some of the most skilled that we see, some of the cleanest and most professional. And, like I said before, I mean, even though we only had 5 cars left on the lead lap, I mean, those 5 drivers, they were working their tails off. And taking a look at the final results from tonight's race before we get out of here, GT Hawkins, Bryce Senesac, and DJ Weeks on your podium. John Sterling, your only playoff driver not to make the podium because there's only space for 3, finishes in 4th. Wes Gant, Alex Carr, Greg Carr, David Clayman, Rich Reimuller, and Mark Hurricane Hanna round out the top 10, Tony.
Alan Hilton put in on the hauler early, as did Mike Rominger after getting involved in that incident that brought out the one and only caution here tonight. Clifton Cockrell put it on the hauler way early as he did 10 laps and then parked it after clattering it into the water barrels at the end of the pit wall.
Yeah, you know what? And it's a shame when you see somebody after 10 laps have to put it on the hauler like that. But, for lack of a better term, we say it a whole lot. Sometimes racing happens. And, we saw it Sunday in the Cup Series at Martinsville. We saw that with Clifton Cockrell today here on virtual Homestead-Miami. Racing happens. It is what it is.
It is at that, but, that is going to about do it for us tonight, Dave.
Yeah, Tony, I think it's time that we hang our hats up and head on home.
So we'll see you next week in Phoenix, folks. For Mr. Dave Regal, this is Tony Trapasso reminding you that until we meet again and as you walk down the road of life this week, whatever you do, don't play in traffic. Good night, everybody.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
Oh, shit. Monica Kleeman's got her surgery the date.
What's up, guys? Roger Debo, front tire changer for the